ونادوا أصحاب الجنة أن سلام عليكم لم يدخلوها وهم يطمعون.
Welcome everybody, this is the third episode of the Salaam podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We're going to talk about Islamic finance. His name is Almir Colan. He has a lot of experience and I think a lot of you guys actually know who he is, but you can't recall by name, you have to see his face. So I'm going to roll some clips.
This sort of system where incentives, you as a participant in economy, are removed from the reality of economy. Whole economy goes down. The house burned down. These contracts, you cannot make a payment. People defaulting, everything going down. But you are benefiting. You see the whole system of incentive, how disconnected you are. Everything is burning down, going down, crushing around you. Yet you are benefiting from every single disaster through these clever insurance schemes and all of these other products. What's at the heart of incentive where you can create monster and the cancer in the finance like this? What's at the heart of it? Ability to exchange unequal amounts of money. The fact that they could exchange 2 billion in future cash flow for unequal amount today, it's what creates the building block of entire cancer cell, which is why in Islam, you cut it in a root. You say money to money must be on the spot and no delay and no surplus.
Maybe you will recognize him. We're going to have a big conversation about everything related to finance, investing, trading, etc., relating to the Islamic framework. He has a very nice way of explaining stuff conceptually, so you get a good grasp on the whole subject. So inshallah, we'll see you soon. He'll be there in, I think, about 5 minutes. So see you soon. I'm gonna switch it off with my pen. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. He is here. He is with us. Anticipated guest. A lot of people had questions relating to his expertise. So for the people who don't know him, a small recap. His name is Almir Colan. Am I pronouncing that right?
That's right.
Almir Colan. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. Doing well.
Alhamdulillah. So you are a director of the Australian Centre for Islamic Finance and also a CEO at Olive Investments. You're an advisor for multiple institutions. You were a consultant, a lecturer at the university. And now you also give courses on YouTube and have a podcast, which we're going to speak about in detail because I really like it. I was just when I was making the setup for this podcast, I was really going like superficial, like, okay, what question should I ask, and just what about this, what about that, and then when I saw your podcast, I was like, okay, hold on a minute. The way you conceptually try to explain something so that the people not only get the answer just for that question, but the whole thing, so they can maybe infer later on what the answer is to another question. So I thought maybe we have to tune into that a bit, like get the concepts of Islamic finance out of it. So before that, I want to know a little bit more about you. So maybe you could start, where did you grow up and how was your life a bit? What did you study, etc., etc. Oh, and we have to do the simultaneous sip, I forgot.
Bismillah.
Bismillah. I'll make the coffee good. What do you have, tea or coffee?
Tea. It's a little bit late in the night. So if I have a coffee last night, I had a coffee last night very late, and apparently I couldn't sleep because of that. So I have to train myself to switch in the night tea, in the morning coffee.
Yeah, I do it
so
too.
it goes with the rhythm.
Yeah, it's I can't handle this as well, coffee.
Because your body in the morning, it sort of goes into more active state. So when you give it a bit of a coffee, it works with that your own body, and so that helps you. But throughout the day, closer to the end of the night, you're trying too much to awaken your senses, and then you might mess up your night.
It messes up mine for sure. So yeah, I can understand. Which alhamdulillah. So yeah, tell me about your early life, I guess.
I grew up in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, in the old part of the city. It's a beautiful old part next to the Baščaršija. I went to the school close to that area and lived there. So it was a beautiful childhood, with your friends, doing a lot of different fun things, neighbors. Just really enjoy my life. And then, unfortunately, later on, we had a bit of a war. And now I live in Australia since the end of the war. I lived there throughout the war. And I moved to Australia in 96 to study a little bit. And then after that, I got married and then kids and everything. So now I'm here in Australia and living between Australia and Bosnia, traveling here and there.
Okay, so you go back occasionally, or?
I try as much as possible. I was there just around before December. I feel a duty and responsibility to go. I have family, I have everybody. So I have a sense of that connection with Bosnia as well.
I think you also feel some responsibility of giving your, helping the country maybe.
Absolutely.
But, helping the family and
critical. Sometimes some things that I see or that I learn, you feel responsibility that you pass any knowledge that you have to anybody, and maybe to help people to think a little bit differently about how to manage their life, how to improve situation. So as we learn, as we see things done in any domain, we try to say, okay, so what can I do to sort of give back to my community, to somebody, to maybe younger people, or to help improve something that is already happening. So I feel responsibility for that state. It's something very special in the heart, and you will find that a lot of people who, especially with the men, they have a very nostalgic feeling towards back home to their countries. I find mostly that the women, they have a little bit easier time. They adjust more easily than men. Men are very nostalgic in the West, who have grown up in the country, and then they moved, let's say, when they were 20 or something, and then they have the more difficult time or more connection. So it's not an easy task for a lot of guys who have that sort of spent half life in one country, half in the another.
Okay, I can really understand that why you feel that way. So it's a big part of your childhood, and I also feel very nostalgic about my childhood. So I can't imagine what it feel like to move to another country right now, and then in about 20 years, I think I'll also be like that, very nostalgic. So when did Islam a prominent part of your life since the beginning of your childhood, or when did it really start to light up?
Bosnia was before part of Yugoslavia. So after the end of the Cold War, Yugoslavia, like many other countries like USSR, which is Russia now, many of these countries collapsed. Fall of Berlin Wall, communism was not doing well economically, and so people wanted more freedom. And when collapse of Yugoslavia happened, Bosnia wanted to be independent state, just like Croatia, Slovenia, and so on. So we had a lot of problems. Until that time, communism was very anti-religious. And I remember that even though before Second World War, my grandfather, he was studying to be a scholar. His grandfather was a scholar. He memorized Quran. But when the war happened, Second World War, and after that, communism was so strong that you couldn't get a job or couldn't do anything unless you are part of the Communist Party, in which case you had to hide your religion. By hiding religion, not being able to practice, a lot of different psychological pressures, people started slowly leaving their religion. And even our late president, Ali Izetbegovic, he was in prison in 94 first time, and then later on for writing the book or being activist of Young Muslims organization. So it was very difficult. I remember actually my grandfather was in the jail in 46 with Ali Izetbegovic, next to the main library where I went to school. And my father is the caretaker of the mosque there, just there. So it's very interesting, a lot of different history. And so we, during that time, was secretly even watching movies about Islam. For example, I remember when we were teenagers, the Message movie came out. And we had to go to my grandmother's house, secretly watch that movie as if we are doing something very, very dangerous. And we gathered around, there was a cassette, VHS, and we played it. And I remember opening scene and Hamza with the sword. And I never witnessed, what is this? What is this, you know? So you never had that honor or izzah, strength or something definitely was different than what you ever experienced. But most of us, maybe only my grandmother left. She was one that was practicing. Everybody left during communism, Islam, like most of people. Maybe in the whole Sarajevo, we had one woman wearing hijab at that time during communism, and she was jailed with Ali Izetbegovic and few others. So after the fall of communism, people started gaining more freedoms. Muslims started gaining some kind of a confidence about Islam, and in the beginning was very simple things. They would organize religious songs to be, they sing the songs, for example, in a stadium.
What age were you at that time?
So I was about like 14, 15, for example. So that was in 90s. And so people don't know anything. They just go sing the song, something about Islam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then everybody started, wow, these Muslims, look, they're singing these songs and they're talking about these kinds of things. And, so innocent. And people started slowly, and I started reading different things. I was interested in reading history, different things. War started, so we had a lot of time to read, to examine why it's happening. Those who fought us obviously saw in those songs or in those early days something dangerous, because they had this whole historic narrative that we were doing so many things to them as a Turks. They call us Turks. And they have all of the history written about how they were victims. So in any case, they constructed this, and then they unleashed the war for 4 years almost. So in that time, we had to reassess who we are. So I started reading a lot more. My grandmother influenced me. I started reading different philosophies, religions. I was just wondering what is the truth. And so I was not necessarily convinced any way. So high school, I spent a lot of time reading, and then I started slowly finding many more answers. Islam seemed to me like answer all of the questions that I had as a somebody going to high school, young boy. And from then on, I never stopped reading.
So would you say you were one of the only children, or one of the only people in your family that was starting to gain more interest in Islam, or was it like your whole family suddenly starting to read and support each other?
I have two more brothers. We have a lot of people in our family at the moment. Probably 60-70% of our family are, let's say, more religious practicing, and so on. Even those who are maybe not. At least in my family and in many other families who are not, let's say, practicing, they would not be like before, very, communism trained people to be very antagonistic, very negative, very harsh, belittling, putting down, and so develop certain stereotypes where you must be religious just because you are half smart, you don't have a brain, you don't know how to think, you are probably unemployed, you don't know A from B. And that's how these stereotypes, so only lower class people kind of were religious. And in similar case, you go to Turkey, similar attitude, you go to any other countries where the secularism was deeply, deeply militant. In fact, it was so harsh that anybody objecting would be sent to prison and killed and tortured and so on.
Okay. That is, I can understand. Like you were saying that the characteristic thing of your time was that it was really social pressure that they were using to get their way. So,
Absolutely.
And did you? I think you were 20 when you moved to Australia. Is that right?
I was 20. Yep, I was 20.
Yeah.
The war finished. I had a bit of a problem with my health at that time. So I wanted to get some assistance in terms of the health-wise and also to do the studying. And so I moved to Australia. I wanted to study computer science and engineering. I really liked that. And so I started doing that. But over the time, I realized that as I was more understanding in terms of religion and what I want to do, learning different things, I started gaining more interest in society, business, how things work together, how society works, what are the pieces in society that make it what it is. So I started asking a bit more questions about justice, about how society structures, how do we help people. And so I slowly started reading more, expanding. At that time, I learned the English language, which helped me to sort of expand and read more. And so I switched to business, then did the master in business and management. And then, that opened sort of way for me to start thinking more in a structured way about how we are living. And I was involved in a lot of these Islamic organizations. So you observe different movements, how things are evolving in terms of the community on the ground and its history, where you want to be. And so over the time, you develop different interests, these different areas where you focus yourself. And as with your own family, with your own experience in community, you focus on those particular areas then of study.
And so how many years did it take for you to realize, like, okay, Islamic finance is something for me? This is the expertise I want to pursue.
So Islamic finance came really after I learned, general Islamic framework of life, of different things. And I started just locally attending some classes and reading some hadith, listening the explanation in our mosque, and just attending and thinking. Something started. I started thinking more and more. And I thought that, if we have all of these rules, if this is what it is, then it must be a serious matter. And then through my travel experience and work, I discovered that the finance is very involved. Banks are involved in everything. They are so deeply integrated in whatever we are doing. So I started thinking about it, all of these Islamic rules, how economy function, and where is the role of money, how it relates to power, how it's related to different Islamic concepts. And you start connecting the dots. And so it really started from, simple things. Okay, why all of these rules on riba? Well, hang on a minute. Well, it's because it is trying to put in bed certain attitude towards lazy way of making money, which is to be making money from activities that benefit people. And then you see, okay, but this whole economic system then is built on a different sort of idea than what we see in both socialism and capitalism. And I experienced both. So you suddenly start thinking, wait a minute, our concept of the whole life and how you engage locally with your community, with different institutions that you are trying to build versus any other system is completely different. So just start rethinking every other concept that is being presented. And more and more you looked into it, you could see the miracle. You could see very surgical precision of Islam. You could see masterful use of all of these different tools and ideas and principles to structure life. And then, and so more I started being impressed with that, I developed, okay, let me see how does this relate to overall picture. So you start piece by piece, Islamic finance, then my concept of Islamic finance grew into something much more, how we can develop the careers for the young boys, let's say in the schools and girls, and what they can do in their life, how they can be independent, self-sufficient, what can we build Islam as a lifestyle. If the Islam is the way of living life, then we can't have somebody else producing everything we are consuming in our life. So what kind of lifestyle or way of living is when whatever I consume, somebody else who doesn't share my values is producing? So that doesn't make much sense. And also any weakness, I realized that Islam doesn't want us to be weak. And so this became a really, just started discovering, and I started connecting it with, when we were living in Bosnia, when Muslims live around the world, as I travel, I see why is it that a few centuries ago, a country like Australia or Indonesia became Muslims when these Muslim traders were coming and dealing with the people, bringing the goods, impress people so much and help and benefit and be upper hand, so that you have Indonesia in 3 centuries, from 12th to 15th century, all become Muslims. Why is it the same countries that used to send and export, for example, today cannot feed themselves? Is that really what Islam wants from us, that we go around beg for the world to feed us, defend us?
I like how you say, like, if there are so many rules on it, then it must be something serious. So I like that is the incentive that made you gain more interest into it.
That absolutely. If the riba is a war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think that maybe there is something to that other than what we just casually observe?
Yeah.
It's only our lack of insight that cause us to think, oh, it's just something to do with mismanaging your money, how you spend it, but it's one of destroying sins we're talking about. So it's your lack of imagination and insight and depth of understanding things that cause you to think that. So you didn't look seriously, because we stopped, and our countries stopped thinking about these issues. So that's why now when you think about it, you have to dig so deeply to really connect the dots.
Yeah. So yeah, we will get into that for sure. That the deep dive. But you, as a position you have right now as a financial advisor or the director of the Australian Centre for Islamic Finance, what does your day-to-day life look like? What kind of work do you do for them?
I try to help my community here locally, not only to learn about rules of Islam when it comes to muamalat or dealings like business transactions, contracts, things of that nature, but really to encourage them to put these in practice. And so that they don't feel like I start practicing, now everything is haram, I don't know how to do this or that, and then being discouraged. But to understand that you have to do something, and you have to build your own businesses. We have to own things, like in my own community where I am now in Melbourne, 50% of the community is Muslims, for example. So every second house in this neighborhood is a Muslim. So I usually sit with the business people and I tell them, like, so as a business people, do you own 50% of the land, let's say just in our area here, or 50% of the businesses? Or do you have 50% representation in the media or local government or whatever it is that you are doing, just to be on equal with everybody else? Do you have that? And the point is that, schools, where still, even here now, only 25% of our kids go to Islamic schools, even in this area. So why is that? So we need to have different sort of aspirations that we take on these challenges, and you do stuff, and then you learn Islamic rules, and through doing you learn. So we don't want to be in situation like just before maybe 1 or 2 centuries where somebody told us your Islam is only some idea in your head and leave the rest to us. And then we just withdraw and we left, and somebody else benefited from that. So we want to reverse that. We say, no, Islam needs to be alive in the things I'm doing. And so it's something that enrich and benefits everybody. And so what I try to do, I consult people, businesses, we do seminars and coaching and anything that we can do it. But I also run some other business. We started recently, a few years ago, investment fund that invests, for example, in the healthcare. So we thought, okay, so how would Islamic halal investment be if we were to set up a hospital or medical centers? How would Islamic way of doing that be? So, okay, let's join Islamic finance with the health. So it's, as one of my branding managers say, the wealth met health, So let's try to do it. So how would you run hospital or medical center as a Muslim? What would be your ethics? So there must be something in Islam if we want to connect what we believe in with everything, how I teach in the classroom, how I act as a manager, as a doctor, how I run factory. So there must be some lessons. Otherwise, this Islam is just how it is a way of life. So if we are not connecting it to the life, how is it the way of life then?
Yeah, like you said, also like Islam has been, I can relate to it, like it has been instilled in us, like it's something you put in your mind and it is for yourself and that's it. So you don't show it, you don't act like it. So alhamdulillah, I really like it that you want to put it like this. For example, with your olive investments, I have a question about it. When you market this idea, this business, do you market it as for Muslims and halal this Islamic responsible, or do you make it a more general business and then you try to give some hints to the Muslims like, okay, this is Islamically responsible, so you don't target only a particular part of the society?
So with the olive, obviously, 3 of us partners, we are all of 3 of us are Muslims, and we run it as a Sharia-based system, meaning that in its core, it's been set up to comply. It's not like Sharia compliant. Sharia compliant is you have a business and it happens to be Sharia compliant, like it's making a bottled water. Okay, so the owner didn't care about Sharia or Islam, but it happened to be water. So okay, we give it certificate. No, we wanted a business that from the beginning is like that. So all of our friends and people and who we interact understands these things. Of course, what we are aiming is to be the mainstream fund in society to attract everybody. So we have been thinking, how do we approach it from business perspective, because we didn't want to in this society be seen where, okay, so these are the people, it's exclusive for just, and then maybe there is an issue in terms of the perception in society. And so what we have done, we thought about, okay, what is the aim of Islam? What does it want? It wants to have the wholesome, tayyib, you have halal, which is like permissible, and then you have a tayyib, which is higher level, pure, wholesome. So we thought, okay, so if I'm talking about food, for example, halal is just the way you slaughter animal, but tayyib is not just slaughter, it's slaughter, but also like, is the animal fed properly? Is it handled properly before and after? is it healthy meat? Not like this chicken, just feed them antibiotics and you don't know what you're eating anymore. So that's the wholesome. So we thought, okay, let's develop unique brand, which is the wholesome investment. So that's how we brand it. We ethic as a wholesome, ethical investment that is open for everybody, and we are very proud of our principles. And we talked about these principles, and so what we then do, we try to incorporate all of these things into our way of investing and acquiring business and so on.
Okay, interesting. So then the podcast came, I think like 1 or 2 months ago. Everybody who's watching this, I really recommend you go and watch the podcast or listen to it, because it's listen only. I think it's really packed with information. Like, for example, I think the first 5 or 6 episodes are just explaining some stories, and then there's just so much knowledge and wisdom inside those podcasts. So I really recommend people to listen to it. So how did that come about? When did you decide, like, okay, we should start a podcast? And I think is it your daughter?
Yeah, with my daughter, yes.
Yeah, she's also there. So how did that idea come?
Basically, I know that YouTube and short videos and people really like these kinds of format. It often goes very viral, and it's a great maybe entertainment, maybe information. But I also know from my own experience, when I started practicing more seriously Islam, what I benefit a lot were tapes from some Bosnian scholars in the 90s. I would listen tapes when I was driving or doing something, and I would have the whole shelf with hundreds of tapes. And even today, I consume audio. So audio, there seems to be something with the audio where you can engage at deeper level. So I think at the moment there is an appetite for people to go deeper to understand issues, not just at the surface level. So maybe you will not have millions of views, but maybe you will have hundreds or thousands of people listen. But those people who listen, they are not there to just swim at the shallow water. They want to go for the deep stuff. And so the only way you can reach the depth, if you go on a journey. So you start unraveling one layer after another. And in those depths, you find those gems.
Yeah. So do you have do you prepare the podcast like really well? Because it feels like you do, but maybe you're just speaking out of your heart and it turns out to be good because of your experience. Or do you really have
So usually I prepare some points I want to cover. So whatever I read or whatever I think about, I often discuss with my friends and already have an idea, observe what's happening. And so I try to bring a point and more go into the principles. So idea is not to tell people how to think or what to think, but to open the topic so that they can see mechanics for themselves. And so I think that's more respectful to the listener, where they can be part of a journey. And then this is what I can see. And sometimes I don't see everything, but here's what I can see. Maybe somebody can take it to the next level and see something else. But I think it's very important that people see how this works, how you reach your conclusion. And so only in a long format you can sort of open up those principles and tell stories and engage.
Okay, so let's get into the principles. I think we can start on maybe the Islamic perspective on wealth and money. How can you convey that to someone who's not familiar with Islamic finance conceptually?
So money and wealth specifically. Wealth is the very large category, and money is a subset of wealth. So wealth could be your time. If you have time, you are a very wealthy person. In fact, if you see what all of these rich people, when they want to advertise what is wealth about. Especially these fake investment seminars, they tell you at the end you will be sitting in your somewhere in a beach and drinking coffee and some latte or something, meaning you will have time. So the time, for example, is very critical component that you can relax, you can pause. Relationships with other people, that's a part of your wealth, quality, how you relate to other people, your own health, your own knowledge. There is different things that give you satisfaction. So money is a part of that. And so the key here is to have a balanced life. Now, for whatever reason in our tradition for last, let's say, 100 years, when this secularism took over, we started making ideas about money that were not necessarily Islamic. So we would start seeing money as an evil or something that we should run away from. Dunya, run away, And so obviously the Prophet ﷺ asked to be saved from the poverty, from being in debt. And so if he asked if there was a virtue in being in debt and in that situation, he would not ask to be saved. So he also, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that upper hand is the better. For the person who doesn't have a job or is begging from other people, he said, go find the most simple job like cutting some wood and sell it, rather than go beg people to give you or not. And then you depend on them. So save your honor and dignity. So a lot of things, incentives, we see that Islam wants us to be independent. And so what you see is that we see money more like a trial, like a fitna that tests you. And it really shows what's in your heart. And so that is the part of the test, to how you are going to position yourself. And often when I talk to the people, I say, it's not really even about money. Issue is, what are you sacrificing to get that money? How many hours? Because you could be working 5 hours a day and you are making millions of dollars. And somebody could working normal 8-hour job, they're making enough money, then they go extra work 2-3 hours, and then balance that they should be with the family or working on themselves or with the community. They spend for something. So issue is not even how much money, because money has certain utility after which it doesn't really benefit you. If you are going to trade it with extra amounts of time. So sometimes money has utility to reach the point. Sometimes time has utility. So you have to balance these things out. And Allah opened these things differently to everybody. So what you want to do with all of these things is really to keep them in balance. You don't want to just spend working or doing this, but with understanding that money is beneficial in the hand of the believer. Money is very beneficial. You can do a lot of different things. And we want to have people, this is responsibility, especially as Muhammad Shaybani said, famous student of Abu Hanifa, he said, it is according to the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that, especially in terms of the man, he must earn enough to take care of his needs. So it's a very important part of life.
So the Islamic finance is like a framework for you to be responsible with your money. How comprehensive is Islamic finance? How deep does it go? How detailed is it?
Believe me, it's I've been just a topic, as I told you, just topic of riba, which is one of my favorite topics. I've been studying that intensely for maybe almost 10 years, just that topic, which I can, even today, I'm very excited to study, read about it, see what people are saying. And I keep discovering the wisdom of the whole thing. It's just, for me, it's such a massive topic, just that. Of course, so many different rules that Islam has put for us. Even when I read that, for example, some of these rules don't allow you, when you barter same thing, to do it with delay. So certain basic foods, staple foods that people eat. And I often think, why is that? that you cannot give this food and then exchange it later, like in credit with the same food, or different foods, food for different food staple on credit. Why it has to be on the spot? And then you start realizing, but hang on a minute, if people started doing that, buying food with another food with delay, then that other food will be almost then be like a money, become like a money, de facto money, and then it will be hoarded, and then that will affect the prices of that good. So for example, the price of rice, it's okay for us at the West, we don't care what's the price of rice because, it's not a big deal. But you might have 1 billion people right now who that price of rice, if it moves up a few cents, they cannot afford to eat it. So the rules of Islam are so deep, it's just that sometimes we don't really see how they are applicable. Or simple rule, exchanging money for money, when you look at the global financial crisis, that simple rule that you cannot sell money for money, discount, sell it at higher or lower, has to be exchanged one-to-one. That rule is so fundamental because the entire economy, capitalism, all wealth inequality that sucks the wealth, that is creating so much harm. The complex products are in their core structured with the rule that allows them to exchange money in unequal amounts. So just that small principle in the beginning, once you allow, we see the cancer of current interest-based banking system, how it becomes widespread, where, for example, allowing money to give birth and grow, where we now have that financial fictional economy that just grow by itself without attachment to real things, is somebody say 20, 30 times bigger than everything we produce on planet Earth. So can you imagine that you have economy where it's just growing by itself? So that is not natural. So Islam comes and say, no, economy and buying and selling and finance, it needs to be linked with the real things, with real economy. It can't just grow synthetically. So these things really needs some investigation, because there is a deep a lesson in all of these things.
Yeah, so when I discovered about money, how it's produced, that it's not backed by anything, it was for me a big shock. Like it literally is nothing. So I think one of the things you often say is when you're not trading one-to-one, you're sort of allowing people to decouple from reality or from the economy. What do you mean by that, decoupling from the economy?
So this allows you to create a product where you can make profit regardless of what's happening in the economy. So normally when you are a business person, you need to sell something that somebody wants. So you sell me a cup of coffee. If I like it, I will pay you money, keep going. And so your business, your income grows as more good coffee you're making. So you are connected with that coffee, with the providing benefit to the real people. But what financial engineering allows you is that I let's say now 100 people watch us. I give you $100 at 1% interest. So you take $101 and you give it to the next viewer, $102 at 2%. So now I make 1% of the $100 and you make 2%. Then he goes, give it to another one at 3%. And so by the time it reach all of us, our accountant say, oh, look at the money, everybody got $100 and everybody got a profit on the $100. So altogether our economy, $1 million now. And everybody is making profit. But yet we are just watching this podcast. Nobody is doing anything. You understand? So, but accountant will say, hang on a minute, everybody has got, look how many, everybody's got $100 and everybody's making this many percent. We are doing so great. GDP is like through the roof. Yet no one has done anything for anybody practically and beneficially. And so that means that, hang on a minute, if we can make this profit like that, money is growing just by itself without us even getting off the Zoom call, then that doesn't make sense. It's and maybe economy is totally shut down now. Maybe nothing works in economy. So if you allow incentives, if you can benefit from not providing benefit to people, something fundamentally is wrong there.
Yeah. How do you think Islamic finance fits in society nowadays? Because like you're basically fighting against an institutionalized system that is just all based on credit, based on money for more money, on riba. How can you motivate someone to say, okay, this does fit in society, or you can do something about it?
So when I started studying these things, I thought this is just about something about riba and this and that. And I told you, it's my favorite topic because it's so important and has so many rules, and I just enjoy technicalities of it. But what I realized is that purpose of riba is not just to say this is not permissible. It's to focus the game towards the way the real game should be. I'll give you an example. Let's say we play soccer. Okay, or let's say we're cooking food. All right, so we're cooking food. I'm not going to create a master class in cooking just by saying what is not permissible. All right, these are the things that are not permissible, and these are all the rules, and this is the way we figure out what is not permissible. Okay, but once I do that, once I'm clear on that, what do I do in the kitchen? I want to make as beautiful halal food as possible. So you want then, what the purpose of the rules is that to say, okay, let's now engage and create economy in the way of life, products, services that are connected to Islam, that are wholesome, where people can enjoy the best of this life. So that if I'm making food, it's not just fake food with some synthetic ingredients, which you get sick after you eat. I make the food that is wholesome food, that is proper food. Same with everything else, clothes. So even the entertainment that is not harming and doesn't have detrimental impact on society. So what you want is that these rules focus you on the field and gives you incentives to be upper hand, to be a producer in society, so that Islam truly becomes part of life, lifestyle. So everything that you do, you are producing. Your values are embedded in everything.
Would you say that Islam? Would you say that Islam is doesn't want you to be a consumer?
You have to consume, but on the broader level, you need to be a producer as well. If you allow strategically that somebody else as a nation, let's say nation, look at this corona now, for example. What we are now discovering is that our supply lines are very long. Let's say in Australia now, even Australia, we now started realizing that China is producing our medicine, that our active ingredients for the medicine comes from China. So if they want to boycott us, they switch the medicine, we don't have medicine. Our technology comes from China. What are we doing? We export them dirt, iron ore, dirt, and they bring us back sophisticated products. That doesn't make sense, right? So Islam wants that you produce, of course you trade and do everything, but what you need strategically, what is essential for you you need to have your hand in that.
Yeah. Also be very conscious about what you produce yourself. So you're not saying don't trade with the world, but also produce something, have something valuable.
You have to trade with the world. It's a beautiful thing, and Muslims always traded with the world. That's how they spread Islam. They're very confident. They spread and they brought, and they took. I was just last night reading from a book, Ibn Taymiyyah's Islamic ideas, and he was talking about the idea of the Umar, how he actually, second Khalifa, he really established Baytul Mal, public treasury, in a full sense, because in the past it used to be immediately the money coming, Prophet ﷺ would distribute. It was very low-level operation in terms of bureaucracy. So Umar later developed bureaucracy, and one of the things, one of his companions, would give him some ideas. And he says, I saw Romans doing this, and Umar would do it, like that. And so whatever he would see, he would modify. Of course, he know what is permissible, what is not. And so we see knowledge, we see ideas, we see partnerships, whoever is willing, but you cannot be dependent, especially for strategic things. You cannot be dependent where somebody can boycott you, shut you down, and endanger you fundamentally. So this is unacceptable. So there is what you trade and so on, but there is a fundamental that you need to be independent. That's very critical. That is a strategic issue.
Okay, so that's interesting. I think we are now getting aware of this because of the crisis we're having right now.
Absolutely.
Also, you mentioned in the beginning, like people are trying to sell time. What I really liked is you made an analogy in one of your podcast episodes with Iblis and the first people on earth, where he tried to sell something as well. How can you maybe say that here, like explain the analogy of that?
Absolutely. So if we look at the beginning of our great grandfather, Adam alayhi salam, you see that devil knew him very well. He was aware of his what is inside hollowness and so on. So he examined him very, very well. So when he approached him from the something that he felt that he could get him to be what would be the right word? I don't want to use the wrong word, but like where some insecurity he could exploit. Okay, now he's in paradise. He has everything. He doesn't need anything. But he comes to him with this idea that if you want to be like the angels, immortal, then this is what you need to do. So he gives him a promise, he swears to him, and then he tells him that if you want to be independent of means and immortal like angels, so that then after that you don't need to worry about anything, this is what you need to do. And so the idea here is that this is what the humans, let's say, inside is always tested on. And that's why Allah said that we will test you sometimes with fear, with hunger, with loss of life, with loss of fruits. And so a lot of hadith talking about testing you with sometimes with giving you something, sometimes with taking something from you. And so Ibn Kathir talks about it, and he said that this is the human is tested on these things. How they're going to handle themselves once you have something. Let's say you have now money. What you going to do with the money? What you going to do with the health, time, knowledge? What you going to do with authority that you have? Once we take it away from you, what you going to do with that? You lost it now. You don't have it, or you don't have it and you fear, will I ever get a job? Will I ever get to be this and that, marry? Or so everybody is tested, sometimes with the fear, sometimes with having something. So it's always that grateful for what you have, patient with what you don't have. How are you going to position yourself? That's the life. And so today, people, marketing department knows this very well, because this is how they work. Just take this credit card. Just take this credit card, and your worry, you can now have a freedom. That's why they call credit cards, half of the credit cards are called freedom something, So all of the scams and the schemes and just work a little bit more so you can have that freedom. You can have then tomorrow lifestyle you want. You turn out 20 years, your son is, I don't know, in some nightclub, your daughter, you don't know, where is she? Your wife forgot about you, you are angry. Oh, just because every day it was just this tweet, this message, this email, this project, just more of this. You lost yourself in this. So that is that balance, critical balance, where shaitans until today promising you. And where is our hunger? Our hunger comes that we want that money. We want status as well. We crave for these kinds of things. So Shaitan exploits these, and he puts these ideas. So this is human weakness.
Yeah. I think the best answer to that will be Qadar Allah. Allah will take care of me. Not trying to worry too much about the future, to do something now to be forever safe, because you will not be in this world.
You have to live. You have to do. That's why, for example, giving. When you start giving money, or when you start giving from what that does, it removes that fear from your heart. Because it's only when you start giving that you're doing something contrary to your instinct, that you start training your heart that you are master of that money, that you have it in your hand. It does not control your heart. So once you start training your heart to give, to contribute, to spend it easily, you train yourself. And so more you are
Should you
involved,
say we should be easy spenders? Is that what you're...
We should be easy spenders when it comes to giving for the good and for others. But we shouldn't be too easy when it comes for our desires.
Okay.
Our desires you keep in check. Even if it is something halal, you train yourself. I don't need it. The other day, my son asked me, can I get this inside some game? He wants to buy some skin in the game. I don't know. And I said to him, look, money, nothing, doesn't mean anything to me. You mean everything for me. I give you everything. But this is what I'm going to ask you now. That you control yourself, even though you can get it, just don't do it. It's not important.
Those games are, I swear, those games are crazy, because now even in the European law, I think they have banned it already, those skins in games, how they really trigger the dopamine in the kids. And I also
social status, everybody's having them. I'm the only one.
It's almost it's casino-like.
They have even gambling. They have where they're opening the boxes and guessing what's in the box, and they have videos and embedded promotions. These are all financial. And I try to teach him. I say, look, these people, they gave him certain odds for this box, and he got more than what you will get, or somebody, and this is a gambling, and this is fake. And I tell him, I teach him, I go on the board with him, and I teach him, this is the top 3 ways to scam people, how to fake people, and how it works 100%. And you think it's 100%, and this is how you spot it. So I want him to understand and not be gullible, because the Prophet, in Islam, we say that Muslims should never be bitten from the same hole twice. You should never be gullible, meaning learn from experience. There's a lot of sharks. There is so many insecurity in terms of financial dealings now, and especially the young men, they wanna jump quickly, sort themselves through these shortcuts, and they become prey to these schemes. And so if you just run with these schemes, and after this easy money, you end up with a lot of trouble. So I tell him, look, even if it is halal, keep yourself, learn how to control yourself, learn how to control your desires. Don't just spend because you can.
I think, are you familiar with the word entrepreneur? It's a whole big business where people are selling shortcuts in the entrepreneurial life, and you think, when you look at it, you're like, this is so phony. I mean, how can someone fall for this? But it is such a big market of just people promising, like, these are the shortcuts. You can get so much money right now. Just follow my course. This and that.
When the son of Adam alayhi salam asked him later on, he said, "Oh, my father, why did you trust Iblis to sell you these things? These shortcuts and beliefs and fake stuff." He says, "Oh, my son, I never thought somebody swears to me, like promise that they are telling me the truth and that they are lying. I never occurred to me this idea that somebody will say, well, by Allah, I'm telling you the truth, I'm your advisor, and that they would be lying." So it didn't come to my mind. I didn't have experience with these things, basically.
Okay, so we have some questions from the students of our association regarding Islamic finance. I think we have it conceptually. We've got some information about it. Now maybe a bit more concrete. So one of our questions is entrepreneurship and Islam. how well does it go together? And when you're starting a startup, how can you be responsible? And well, I wanted to say Sharia compliant, but that's not the right term. Sharia based is the right thing. So how can you achieve this?
As a young person, most of us know, it's easy to know what is permissible business. So if you are doing something that is permissible, you start thinking, is this something that can benefit people? And I want to put my energy and skills into making it as a sustainable business. I think it's a good idea to understand, first of all, that when Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, one of the first things he built was a market, and entrepreneurs, companions, they started their own businesses there, which became a source of strength for the Muslim community. So first of all, that is very important. And that's why you see Imam Bukhari, he talks about some of the first or second hadith, the companions ask Abu Huraira, how come you memorize so many hadith? And he says, well, when I was, in Medina, he basically had a lot of time to be with the Prophet ﷺ. He lived there around the mosque, and he was like a student. So he said, I was there all the time, while other companions, they were busy in the market, buying and selling and doing all of these things. And when you think about why would Imam Bukhari put this hadith about Abu Huraira talking about his memory in the book of business transaction, is because Abu Huraira, beside his memory, he just told you that what companions were doing. They were in the market doing business, selling. Even the Umar used to do one day studying with the Prophet ﷺ, another day he would work and he would rotate. He would have a business partner, they would rotate. So this is the normal part of life. Starting the business, running a business, doing something permissible, and then using that money to benefit your society. So the important thing in this is to start, to build the skills, not to wait, paralyze yourself until you know everything. But you have a general idea. Ask people what you need to ask them, put a plan, go for it. Especially the younger you are, you have time to learn by your own mistake. So I would say important is, obviously you want to do something that is permissible. Don't wait, just go for it. Consult always, keep in touch with people, and you learn as you go. It's not that complicated, You don't need to know everything about everything, but you learn. If you are not sure, ask the question, and you will learn. Your idea will develop, your knowledge will develop, and that's how you learn.
It's funny because
don't just wait for the books, Don't just
but that's exactly what I wanted to say. Like from what you're telling me, I feel like Islam is really encouraging entrepreneurship, but like the current state we are in this world is like you want to start something, but they're like, no, you should work, or no, read this book, no, you should get all this information first. You have to wait and stop and this and that, and it's almost like if you think about it, having your own business is the most logical thing to do. But now in this world, it's so normal to have to just be an employee.
Well, for some, obviously, different people, different things. Some people are different capacity. I think some people will work, some people will be very constructive part of the team within organization. They have different sort of interests. Like I personally never like management. I understand management and leadership. I've studied, and I don't like it. It doesn't just interest me. Can't be bothered with it. But I have a friend in business. He's, I never seen anybody like. That is the management. Everything in management, it comes instinctively, and he could sit 15 hours in front of his screens and watch all statistics about business, about sales, about stuff, and about people, and monitor everybody. I can't. I just don't have that interest. But I realized that later on. So everybody is a little bit different. Everybody has different interest, but the idea is that in general, Islamic society has much more. Everybody is kind of entrepreneurial, even in the small thing. So that's why I like to run my own business. I then part of the other businesses that we run together, knowing yourself. So not everybody is for everything and can do everything or have interest. But we are much more entrepreneurial nation where everybody is involved something. It's not just
Yeah.
like now, just like one big business, million people work, you know. No, there's a lot of that backbone of society is those small to medium businesses. And so,
Yeah, and
it's broken down in that
even
kind of way.
even when you're an employer, you can have still be entrepreneurial in your part of the business, for example.
You can be very active. You can be constructive. But idea is that you don't want, if you have the let's say idea, you have leadership, you have desire to do something, you probably are discovering something that you should take more leadership role. And don't settle for, you can sense that in yourself and go run with that. Just like somebody is more academic or engineer. Well, not all engineers should be just engineers academically. Somebody should, let's say 5, 10, 20, 30% should start their own companies, factories, businesses that employ other engineers and do other things. And so it's not good. You need to have a healthy stream, healthy mix. Society needs to be very entrepreneurial. And that's what builds the society. That's why you have all of the startups. So it's not good. It's everything is concentrated too big. Businesses, you need the flexibility, you need agility, you need speed, you need to try and test. You need to have a culture where failure is not the end, where you are disrupting things, where you are questioning things, where you are challenging things, where you are speaking up, where you are going for excellence. Constant movement. You need to have that embedded in society. And so Islam wants to see that. That's a live society. It's not stagnant society. Yeah. It's not very old, regimented no, it's very flexible, very alive society. So that's how Medina was. Everybody was working, doing their own business. Some businesses become bigger, some mega big, depending what you're doing. But everybody, there is always that alive aspect to it. And you need
Funny that you mention it, because I heard people say that when they went to Medina, they say it feels so alive.
Yes, you feel, because look, yesterday I got my son to start here local club jiu-jitsu, and he said, I don't know if I want to do it or not. I said, come, let's go, just do it. He went to training and they started wrestling and everything. And I said to him, look, see, he said, I love it. I want to go today. And he's now in that. I had to drop him before this. And I told him, like, how did you like it? And he said, well, when I was wrestling, I imagine, when we wrestle and I started pushing with my head and shoulder. And so all of these ideas kicked in. I say, see, this is the instinct. You need to get into that. So if you just went and read the books on jiu-jitsu and whatever, you sometimes just need to do it. Of course, you need to follow the instinct, because sometimes you need to trust that instinct, your own flavor. You put your own flavor. You learn and shape all of these things, but there is something in humans, something you need to tap into, that leadership, your instinct, and try. Have a courage, have a bravery to try different things. That's important, to harness that spirit in the community.
Okay, another very popular question we have is on cryptocurrency. Before I tap into it, I want to ask you directly, what do you think is more halal? Is it the fiat money we're using right now, or cryptocurrency?
In terms of cryptocurrency, I have some reservation about it. I have spent a lot of time reading a lot of material and my own interest in technology. I have done a lot of courses on it and a lot of deep discussion. You see, the crypto started, the whole idea, if you read Satoshi, started after the global financial crisis, when banks involved in these very complex products, derivatives, where they package the loans and they sell the money in a discounted way through these collateral debt obligations. And due to the ability to practice that other than one-to-one transactions. So they would package the loans, subprime loans, people who couldn't afford them, and then they would sell them off. And so what started happening, if you can do that, then you can package any kind of junk in those derivatives and sell, because you will get your money and somebody else is stuck with that. So when that didn't work and those securities started collapsing, the government bailed them, gave them trillions of dollars to those insurances and banks. And so a lot of people around the world, they thought, well, hang on a minute, if this is a capitalism, then shouldn't we let these companies fail? Why do we need to bail them out? And they felt that there was deep mistrust in the government and banks. And so Satoshi and others, they thought, how can we create a system or currency or a payment network where we have a trust back with us, where we don't depend on the trust of the regulators and banks and so on. So then that's why in the first block, he embedded some statements from the banks from those times, from the newspapers and so on. That's why you can see it in the Genesis block, I think they call it. So when I read the Satoshi white paper, I thought, Satoshi, if only you, obviously brilliant man, solved the big problem of double spending, which was a problem at that time for the digital assets to be movable and not replicated in two different spots. So as a technology is very interesting. He solved an interesting problem. But money is a matter of economy, not technology. It's not an issue of technology. Okay? So he misunderstood some of the basic economics of money, unfortunately. And so, for example, issue is not what type of money we have. Issue is the regulation. So banks were not regulated what they can make money from, what they cannot. So just at the basic level, if you go from the ecosystem where deregulation of banking was a problem, how can you go to decentralize where you have even less regulation and you think you will not have the same problem, for example, just as a concept. Second thing, when they thought about how can we directly trade and eliminate the trust, people don't have an issue of trusting bank to keep their money or to send the money or spend the money. It's not that trust that people have a problem. Who amongst us doesn't believe if I put $100 on my card, I cannot use it tomorrow, or there will be a counting error and I can't get my money? Or so. No one has that kind of distrust. We don't trust them how they manipulate and lobby government to rig the incentives in their favor, eliminate regulation, and then get bailed out. But that's a different trust. We don't distrust them in a banking that they're doing. Of course, put a riba aside. I'm talking about payment, processing, bookkeeping, all of those normal things that we do. All right. So he started developing the network, which really, once the blockchain and Bitcoin and all of the crypto was developed, it had a much weaker system than what we now have. So, for example, if you look at the study, just the fact that it's a decentralized, supposed to be a core aspect of a crypto, but that's actually its main weakness. You see, let's say me and you now, we have 100 people watching. Is it easier that you pick a time when we make this meeting online, or if 100 of us have to agree on the meeting? Which one more easier or efficient?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But in terms of cryptocurrency, it's a truly free market, and I think a lot of people like that, to have it a pure free market, and it is also backed by something, not something you can grasp, but something with intrinsic value, which I don't see in current money we use right now.
So this is what I want to tell you, that this is what I call first step in understanding of the crypto, where people think it's like a gold, it's backed by something decentralized, independent. That's a first level of thinking. Okay. But once you go to the next second and third and fourth level of thinking, then you realize it's not like that. Okay. So for example, because it's decentralized, finality of payment, for example, is always going to be a problem. You see, with the finality of the payment, how it works. Once you have, once you do the transaction to be put in a block and then verified, all right, you need to perform proof of work. So everybody's trying to crunch those numbers to discover the key, yeah? So to figure out who will be given to package and do the transactions. Now, what is happening is that once you put your transaction in a block, it's not definite that transaction is done. Usually what they do, they wait for, let's say, 3 blocks. Then it's fairly certain, and maybe more blocks they go, this finality of the payment. You see, when I do bank transfer now, as soon as I do it, it's done, 100% finality of the payment. When I do the crypto, that starts from 100, it's reducing, and it's constantly reducing, but it needs a long time to reach something close to 100%. And even Satoshi,
so that's also part of Sharia, right? That when you do a transaction, it should be instantly?
No. Issue is not that. The point is the transaction is not final, meaning it can be reversed. Okay. So when you have and technical aspect of that is, I'll give you a simple example, is that let's say I guess the number and I package transaction. Okay, but I don't broadcast, I'm a miner, I don't broadcast that I discover this block, okay? So what's going to happen, as soon as the rest of the miners find the key, they will put their transaction into that block. So now what's going to happen, we will split the chain, blockchain, okay? So now each one of us is building on their own link, okay? So I let it go for a while, for example, for 1, 2, 3 blocks. And then I broadcast my block. So what the system will do, it will compare 2 links, and they say, like, look, this actually link is older. This came after. So it will reverse all of these transactions from the blockchain, okay? So these issues create lack of finality of the payment. So you are not certain. That's why you go buy a coffee. First of all, you go scan the coffee. Then first block takes you 10 minutes, maybe 1 hour, just to get a confirmation. You understand? Then next block, by the time you get 3, just to be, let's say, 99%, it could be hours. So in the complex world of finance, you cannot have that. You cannot have so many transactions where reversal is possible. There is no finality. So that just by itself, number one, renders the whole system ineffective. Okay? So that's number one thing. The second thing is more simple, and that is nobody really, so put the idea of intention of the crypto. Nobody really needs it for anything. Okay? So currently, whenever you have a product, you ask, okay, what does it do? Okay, so at the moment, you don't have a human beings on the planet who is going around and thinking, I need to buy this, but I can only buy it with crypto. I mean, my money doesn't work, my debit card doesn't work. I don't know how else to buy it. If only I have crypto. Like nobody has that problem. Money works everywhere. Cards work everywhere, right? So transfer money, do this, do that. All of that stuff works. So and so even when you look at on the state level, people usually pick one currency. Like I'm in Australia. Even why would I use euro, for example? Even if it is proper currency, why would I use dollars? It's not useful. I use Australian to do the thing. In a country where there is corruption, like let's say Venezuela, you go there, they use dollars because they trust it. So let's say now Corona, when people needed money and problems, this was ideal time for crypto to jump in to be medium of exchange. But it didn't happen Nobody was calling of, if only we could have a crypto, we would solve economy problem. Nobody was saying that. Nobody needed crypto in their life to solve anything. So this idea that if we only have a crypto, something will happen. You understand? It comes from misunderstanding the money. Money is something that is more like a value system. It shows who is producing what in society. Okay? And whatever is the money, it starts moving towards the producers, towards those who benefit people. So it's just like a counting system. Okay? So more you start, if you are producing, if you are doing something, even the gold, a lot of people tell, oh, when can we have a gold system? I say, what you going to do with gold? You think you have a country, you open the garage, and I put a couple of tons of gold, which is metal, and now suddenly something happened in your economy. Now you are all entrepreneurs. Your scientists are inventing next coronavirus cure. You are making a next laptop. Your iPhone factory is working now because you put a ton of metal in my garage. Is that how? This is again one of those thinking where does
But
not.
it is a good thinking to say I want the money to be backed by gold, right?
For what? For what purpose?
Because the reason we're going into a crisis is because there are just more and more loans stacking up. The currency we have now, it's not based on anything. It's just the moment it starts to crash, they will have a new. They will start printing more money, basically.
Right. But what does that do? What does that do? Like, what does that do to you? Like, what is the impact and harm of that?
The thing I read is like eventually every type of money that is not backed by something intrinsic, it will go to fall.
Okay, so what? So think about this. Think about it. Think about it, what we are saying. Printing money, making money. The harm of that is that when you can do it without being linked to, let's say, gold, is that you can abuse that. So you can do it in a way where, for example, that's why Ibn Taymiyyah, for example, say to the government, don't make making money as a business for you. Don't make making money from making money. You have to make money. When you make money, it has to be to keep value of your existing money. So you don't debase what you have. Okay? So that's number one. So when you have incentive to make money, like in crypto miners, they have incentive to make their money. Okay? It is creating its own different incentives that don't work that very well. Okay? So it has a negative. So he said that government should make money that does not debase money and pay it from Beitul Mal as a service to the people. So the making money, let's say crypto or whatever you want, that shouldn't be for profit activity by miners. If you want to make that, it has to be by trusted organization that can keep an eye on this production of money and we fund it. It's not for profit for the miners. Okay? Currently, most of these miners are registered in Cayman Islands and other entities, and you don't know what's happening. And if you look at forensic analysis of blockchains, you see that there are two types of people who use the Bitcoin, for example. One is people who buy to trade. They made just trading like a game, buying and selling it. Not for any real commerce. They're just buying and selling it. And the other half is using it to launder money, illegal activities, and shady deals. So nobody is really using it. Like now, I live in, they call it capital of Bitcoin, and I still can't, beside coffee at few places, that's it. Nothing like, So, because nobody need it for commerce. You see, this is where you know if money is really money. And it's like, no, nobody is needing it for commerce. Nobody's buying it for their daily things. Even when I got it and test few wallets and things, just to test it. I don't really need it for anything else. I don't have a need. It's slow, it's expensive, a lot of issue with it. and the entire ecosystem doesn't make sense. So what I say to the people is that it doesn't solve any particular problem. There is a hype that it can do something that we know technologically it cannot deliver because it's decentralized and controlled by entities who are registered. You know, you go Bitmain, register in China, Cayman Islands. You don't know who is these people. So they become central bankers. You know, so all of these stories, they can change that code. They can do anything. You know, a few years ago, Bitcoin accidentally printed 200 billion Bitcoins. And then they swapped the chain, and you know, so things can happen.
It is. You're saying it's actually centralized in a sense.
It is centralized around few miners.
Okay. Interesting.
You know who control it, and they can do whatever they want with that if they want. You know, so also it's very weak. Amazon turned their service, wants to bring it down, crash the whole thing. You know.
Yeah.
There's one company switch on their servers or quantum computer, you just unleash it on the network, just finish the whole thing. You know, so these kind of things, you need to control money. That's the whole point. You see, the money is something that you need to control in your hand. Even when you control, if you compare speed and transactions and all of that of Visa versus crypto, Visa is lightning speed compared to it in terms of the processing and everything. And so reality is that both of these are not backed by anything. Okay, both of these are just on their own. But this one, both of these, they have the same issue, same problems. This one tried to tackle, but unfortunately people don't realize that you replace the government, which you see, with another government and the bankers, which you don't see. And they're telling you stories. And we believe that because we are angry at the government.
Satoshi really didn't look at money the right way because he saw it as a technology or as...
So he saw it as an economic challenge. He saw it not as an economic challenge. He saw it as a technological challenge. Technology will solve it. But money is always issue of power. Okay? That's why Islamic rule is in general that only government can mint the coins in reality. That's why you go to our books of Islam, they'll tell you only government can mint, control it. And it was a sign of rebellion and everything to print real money, let alone this other money. So now you have so many different versions of these coins and projects and so people are they found a way purely to guess the price of Bitcoin going up and down. I'm not saying it's haram or I'm just saying if you think this crypto will really be that thing, any government, just Chinese government say shut down that electricity, they don't no more crypto to those factories or any other government. Like you want to, just doesn't make sense, you know, seriously. If anybody wanted to fight it, demolish it tomorrow. With the power or with just cut electricity, not just that, even increase the taxation on the owning the crypto asset, put a different tax treatment, treat it as something else, and you have to start paying
because they see crypto really as a waging war against the government. But you think the government will win eventually?
This is a fake story. This is for the little children.
Interesting.
This is the children who watch too much YouTube videos. People who watch too much of YouTube videos, they believe that. So easy to fake them. Look, if these banks, if these guys, look how many banks every day we hear laundering money. This is the most useful for Russian and Chinese to launder the money into that they can't transfer it to this society. This is this is the whole thing. This is the whole setup. They use the banks that are regulated for billions of dollars that we always find out, 10 billion here, 50 billion here. You think this operation with the crypto is so beautiful. This is the key. This for them is the thing to get the money, fresh money. And a lot of people, of course, they find something that they want to. So it's a lot of problems. It's not going to solve the problems for you. I know young people come to me and they say, how can I ever buy money? And I say, okay, so what's crypto going to do for you? Like, to make money, to earn something, you need to work. It has to be about value. It's not about money. Money is just the score, keeping the score. You understand? That's all what it is. It just go wherever, whoever scores better. Whatever is the money. Don't worry about money.
So the whole story you were saying, I was about to ask a question about market making. You're familiar with that term, right? Market making is when you play on the volatility of the price. That is also something that's not good. Be it in crypto or be it in trading on regular.
I consider all of that to be just a gambling. You are just guessing the price movement of something, and you have little charts and a technical analysis, and you just say, oh, it will go up or it will go down. Just sitting, whoever guess. If that's what we call zero-sum game. Whoever winner take all. If I guess right, you lose your money, I get mine. So forexes and all of these other things, and algorithms for quick trading, day trading, all of these where you are guessing from other than underlying activity. So this is all part of riba mentality that wants to benefit from other than doing something real, from artificial work. Oh, I'm so great, smart, I have algorithm which in nanoseconds buy and sell these things. So I guess better than the other guy. His algorithm is not very good. So what are you doing?
So the about trading as well. Do you think? Well, let me put it like this: you're saying that if you benefit from the economy going down, that is not good. What do you think about when you're trading in halal way? So, for example, you're trading in real shares. Can you short? Do you think that is something responsible to do?
You cannot, because the mechanism for shorting is against Islamic principles of trade. It deploys borrowing the stock and then selling what you borrowed and then buying it back, so it violates some prohibitions. And so that's why it's counterintuitive. That's why you benefit from something going down. So what you want to benefit from is some benefit that is produced, benefit that is enlarged. You want to be part of that, part of the, so it's always win-win. So, how can I benefit if I run a coffee shop and my wealth increases because I'm involved in a shop that makes terrible coffee that people don't want to buy? How does that work? The only way, if you are linked to the economy, is that shop sells beautiful coffee that people love to buy and give you money for it. And then, so the money is really what I told you, like Imam Ghazali said, it's a judge. Money is a judge. Money is not going to get you to be producers. Okay, like look at now, for example, Turkey. Now, if you noticed, they have two companies that produce drones. Okay, they produce drones, which in this Azerbaijan was decisive in securing the victory for the Azerbaijan government, which were defending their own territory from the attacking forces of Armenia. Now, okay, what produced those drones is knowledge, technical skills. Money to pay them was to pay people. You didn't build those drones on the back of just you have money or money sitting there. A lot of our countries full of money. They don't have lack. You think this oil-rich country, they lack money? Gold? They have plenty of that. They have gold planes, let alone gold. They don't know what to do with gold. Nothing. Yeah. But they don't do anything. They're not producing anything. So you are either producer or consumer. More gold you have, you are a better consumer. When now some of our countries, so rich, they don't know what to do with money. I was recently visiting some of them. They bring all of these big brands, universities, $100 million for license they give them just to be there. No research done, nothing. You understand? So it's a human resource that is the core here. Your skill, your competence, you're building something. So now, for example, Canada blocked the export of the optics for the drone. How the money going to help you? Can't put a golden bar in the drone and have a better optics of the drone. You have to develop new optics. Has to have a science, has technology. How to put it? You understand what I'm talking about? So we rely. This is one of the way where we want to do a shortcut. If we have a gold, now we are on top of the world. Magically, things will happen after that. Nothing will happen. You have a gold, silver, crypto, all the money in the world. We have all of it. Look at our countries, Muslim countries. We have all of the resources in the world. We have all of the gold, all of the money, all of the oil, all of the minerals. But nothing. Where are you? What are you producing?
No.
You understand? So this is what I'm saying. You need to produce. The money just follow whoever produce value. How did money come to Amazon, Jeff Bezos? Because he producing most value for most people. Same with Bill Gates. Same with Uber. They deliver so much on Uber that people give them their money. So people give. They didn't take. You see, we become almost like communists, like socialists. We just say, okay, this capitalism evil. How they're evil? Well, they make something. People giving them money. Why we handing thousands of dollars to Apple? They make my microphone here. Who make this microphone? I paid $700 for this. Really? $100 for this. Did they force it out of me or they produce it? So you understand what I'm saying? So this is one of those paradigm shifts which we have to make, that we understand. If you bring it to the level of the family, if you put a gold in the middle of your home, that gold is going to teach your children. Gold is going to make Islamic home. It's your time, your effort, your concern, your love, your care. You understand? Same with the community, same with your economy, same with your everything. Don't believe in a piece of metal to deliver you anything, or crypto or a file. Blockchain is just a database. Blockchain, you want it, you don't want it. Doesn't concern me. I'm just saying to the people, it's a more fake than the other fake money, but you believe people because nice YouTube video told you.
Yeah, also crypto is based on the belief of the technology base. If people have trust in it, it will rise.
What technology?
I mean, like, I'm basically confirming what you're saying.
Blockchain is just a database. It's not even something special in that technology, Nothing special in this.
But I mean, like, if people trust the cryptocurrency, they will buy and it will rise. That's what I'm saying.
Gullible people who want to quickly, they want to jump on some trend. That's why you see how many are hurt, especially when it comes these initial coin offering. They give them white paper and story, and they find now 90% even didn't attempt to do project. They were scammed from 90% get-go. I will build this, I will build that. Here's the white paper. Really? I would love that I know people, I know organization that their bank accounts are closed, that they can't trade, they can't send. Here in Australia, Islamic charities, I know they would benefit from some free way to send money. But this is not it. This is not it. You need to have, if you want to have a money that you can trust, first you need to have a government you can trust.
Yeah.
And government is strong enough to defend that money. So money is linked with your economy, power, military system that you have integrated. It's not just for no reason. That's why I keep saying to the people, anybody, any communist country can print their own money and have interest banks, replicate every institution like every capitalist country. But that's not what makes this America strong. It's that they are producing everything. F-35. What is that? It's a technology that is really, really something. It's end of research and development, and from hardware and software, you understand?
Yeah.
So these are the real things. Think about what skills you have And that's the whole point. What skills? What do you bring on the table? Forget the money. Even when you're starting your own business, it's not about money. A lot of people go into business, they say, oh, if only we have money to invest. If only somebody give us, put your idea, work for your idea, push it, push it. When people recognize money will follow you. Money is just the follower. Money is not a leader.
Yeah.
Only followers think money is a leader. Leaders never think that because they know once they lead, money will follow. Don't worry about money. When we started our own business, you know, in healthcare, people from all around the world, funds, can we invest? Can we invest? I said, I don't know what to do with your money. I mean, I want to grow slowly and I'm learning as well about these things, but you want to give me money. I don't know what to do with it. I just put it there because I can't handle it, that much money. So I just slowly...
growth is also a burden, let's say what to say, yeah.
You have to accommodate it, you understand? So these are the things. These are the things that we sometimes, I feel, maybe people are angry or desperate or just want to break out. It requires a bit more than that. It requires work. So I'm saying to the people, start with your work, start with something, develop yourself, your community, grow, build, participate. You need to focus on real hard power. What are the instruments of power? What makes things, how things happen? That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been observing and studying. You see, one of the sheikh said about power. What is the power? Ability to do something, or ability to stop somebody doing something. So it's a weight. Power is measured in weight, like kilograms, how much real power I have. So think about it. So what can you do? What can you do? Like now, for example, iPhone. They can produce million iPhone in a week, for example. They just last night launched their own MacBook with their own, they replace Intel chip with whatever they call it. That, you see, they can do that. Can you do that? Can you make million laptops from now to the end of next year? Do you have that facility, that factory to make a million? Well, when they get $1 trillion stock price, it's because of that, not because of whatever is underpinning the money. And that's just a different story. That's about manipulation of the money. There's a question of, is money ethical and manipulated? But can you do that? Can you, like Amazon, connect million businesses so that hundreds of millions of customers buy from millions of businesses? Or Alibaba, look at Alibaba, teacher, connected entire China, suppliers with billions of customers. Can you do that? Can you connect in Islamic economy? Let's say now in Pakistan I go. All of the people there with the all of the world who wants to buy. Now we say, oh, boycott friends. Okay, where I buy stuff then? Okay, make something. So I buy Moroccan, Pakistani, Turkish, from Egypt, whatever, make. Can you connect that? This is where the power is. This is where the money will go. This is where the money will go. This is what I'm saying. We don't get the economics of money. I get people like more money, easier this or that. That's superficial thinking about money.
Yeah. Oh, that was enlightening. Barakallahu fiqh for that. Alhamdulillah. I can see the experience you have. Alhamdulillah. Very nice explanation. I do have some questions left. I'll try to get over them shortly. One of those questions is, a lot of people think that, for example, I want to buy something, a computer, 2K, whatever. You will finance it for me, but you will ask me more money. You will give me the 2K, and you will ask me 2,200 back, and I have to pay you in installments. This is not Islamic, right? Because you're purely giving me the money and asking more money back in terms of time. But when you have the murabbaha system, where you would, for example, finance the computer for me, or you will buy the computer for me and sell it to me for a more price, and pay me back in installment, or I can pay you back in installments. A lot of people say, what is the difference between this and the other system? Does it really solve anything? This is the same stuff, right? That's what a lot of people say.
So when it comes to Islamic rules to deal with transactions, the idea is that if I'm just exchanging money for money, then it means to be one-to-one. But if I'm buying something else or selling something else, then I'm allowed to profit from that transaction. So if I give you $100 and ask for you 110, that's money for money. That's now I'm profiting $10. That profit is illegitimate profit. So we call that riba. And inshallah, next week we start with this on the Islamic Finance podcast. We start with this concept.
Can't wait.
Clarifying there are many rules. There are many rules of riba. There's many types of riba. It's not just what I just said, but the most basic that everybody is familiar is money for money. So this type of arrangement is what Islam does not want to be used for commercial purposes, which is to Islam wants to create links in society where there is very distinct. And I had this, this always struggle with in quick way to explain, but Islam wants to have, these are the transactions that are benevolent, charitable, which is loan. You give somebody money, you get money, same money. And then if you want to make money, it has to be dealing with something other than that. So you buy a house. So for example, if I give you money, $100 and I get 110, that's illegal. That's profit that is illegitimate. Hence, the word riba means increase that is not legitimate. So that's the increase that is not legitimate. When it comes to now me buying something for $100, okay? So I buy, I don't know, I buy this.
Your cup, I want your cup.
So
for $100.
And then I give you that, okay, here's this for 110. Now Islam looks at that as you took this asset and you are selling the asset, and that's the purpose of the commerce. Everybody is making money from, you go to the market, people buy apples and bananas or cars, car yard. They are not selling you at whatever money they got it from. They're selling you with some profit for them to pay salary, earn a return for investors and so on. So it's normal that you will calculate even pricing or forming the price depends on so many characteristics, like cup of coffee, we're going back to coffee, but like if you sell it in the market, maybe $1. At my local petrol station, coffee is $1. 7-Eleven. Use the fresh milk, fresh coffee. You know, you can't, maybe it doesn't have all of the flavored beans, whatever, but it's a coffee with a real coffee, real milk. The same coffee with a different little bit, I don't know, Starbucks, $5.
Yeah.
Some other $10. Fancy restaurant, based on the different set of circumstances, they price it differently. So if you sometimes say to the people, okay, I'll give you 12 months to pay me, people price that into their how much they want to sell it for. Just like you, for example, if I tell you, you go to the store and they tell you if you buy one packet, you get it for $1 maybe. But if you buy 20, you give you discount because you now buying more. In a similar reverse, if you're paying later, because you pay more now to get it, you get cheaper. If you're paying later, you get more expensive. So people build these incentives based on how to price. So Islam here allows you to form the price, but you must agree, are you buying for the cash now or in installments? The price must be fixed in the beginning in a sale contract. And so if you look at the schools, different schools of thought, I found maybe a couple of individuals that they dislike that, but I haven't seen any school of thought that I had a look that said that is not permissible. So this is one of the things that is permissible, to buy something, sell it on installments, increase the price due to that. That's how people make money. And and it's one of those mechanisms, of course, that should be used carefully because it creates a debt once you sell on credit. I mean, even if it is halal, in installments, even if there is no markup, I generally, even when it is all of those schemes where you can buy now and pay later, I say to people, be very mindful of these things. It does encourage consumerism. It is still a credit sale, even if it is permissible in this case. And it can get out of the hand, especially now these days. Younger and younger people are exposed to these buy now, pay later, and they do sometimes.
Yeah, we buy phones we can afford. We have cars we can afford.
Yeah. So and now it comes to the smaller transactions. Haircut. Now you have on that same thing. On this is what I call fractional. Yeah, they have everything. They have everything. You can go to have a haircut. Because now they go unsecured loans. This is Afterpay, ZipPay. I don't know what they call these things, but they have all of these integrated. Even on the Amazon, they have these all buy now, pay later, where it's what I call frictionless banking. You go so easy in credit. You go so easy in debt. So that is a big problem we need to be mindful of, and only engage in these kind of things if it is necessary. Now, where it comes confusion in the minds of people when they start mixing murabaha contract, which I just explained, where you take ownership of asset and sell it and so on. You have other types that utilize murabaha to create contracts which are problematic. They call them commodity murabaha, tawarruk, and so on. So there are types of products where you shouldn't be able to create a product where you give somebody $100 and they give you 110. But unfortunately, there are some of these organizations and banks that create a product where they do what I call synthetic trade, where they between themselves back and forth, they sell something like a metal fake trade just on a document. I sell you something at a higher price and buy back from you at a lower price for cash. So I recreate the interest-bearing loan. So these tricks then utilize murabaha, but they join spot sale with a credit sale to recreate the interest-bearing loan. And the asset is only used to create illusion of trade. So this is where the problem is. So I think
not only one transaction they're doing multiple transactions.
Right. So I'll give you an example. Yeah. Let's say I cannot give you $100 and then get from you 110. Okay. So what we do? I say to you, all right. I will sell you this for 120 on the credit. You pay me in 1 year, okay? So we say that's halal, that's fine. So I give you this. Now you take that. Then you sell it back to me for 100 in cash now.
So I bought it for 120 in installments from you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you sell me back for the cash of 100. So what do you now have? What do you have now?
Profit?
You have 100 from the sale, and you have a debt of how much?
120.
120. So what did we make now? You owe me 120 and you have 100. So I just recreated the interest-bearing loans where I gave you loan of 100 and you owe me back 120. I just started with this. This just went around. You understand? We faked. So we joined two things which are permissible. Two things are separate. In separate transaction, these two things are permissible, but we join them to create not permissible thing. So that's what I sometimes see. Sometimes people in comment, they say, oh, murabaha, this and that. They may be mixing up different whole heaps of different problems. I have a whole course on this called Islamic Finance Clinic, which investigates these synthetic transactions. And
Is that on YouTube or
yeah,
where is it?
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube,
Okay.
and goes into more complex sukuks where these fake transactions are utilized. So the reason why I'm saying that is, again, I'm trying to say to the Islamic finance industry is that you have become too transactional, too much just consumerism, just like Islamic economy. We have a report, and Islamic economy, look at halal food. Okay, how much halal food we have? This many trillion. Okay, what does that mean? It means how much meat we ate. So that's your economy. How much meat you ate, consume, how much meat you consume. This is, what is that? How much of it you produced? You know, number 1 and 2 and 3, top 5 countries that produce halal meat are not even Muslim countries. This is what I'm trying to say to the people. And you have all of these benchmarks and numbers, and you are not even producing your own. That you should be ashamed of that. How much meat I ate? Look at my economy. This is how much meat I ate. $1 trillion meat I consumed. Like, seriously? Like, what's wrong with you? Buying and selling, Islamic economy and finance. Oh, look how much things we bought and sold. And how many of those you produced? 0. So it's transactional. Plus, then we introduce this fake thing. And then you say, well, so that's why when I go to the Islamic banks, I go to them and I say, look, at least put 5% into the startups working with the people so you understand how the world economy works. You develop your internal skills. You encourage somebody to start a business. So you learn, and tomorrow 20, 50%. So over time, most of your things will be financing your own businesses that create the jobs, solve your problems, produce for your consumption, and you grow your skills and the confidence, and you keep taking on the next challenge and so on. And so internally, you grow the capacity to run these things, and you grow these skills. This is what the Medina economy looked like. This is why we ran away from Mecca, because somebody else was controlling everything, and we couldn't. When they started boycotting us, they shut down economy on us. We couldn't survive. We had to move. So the point of Sira, of going, is that we go somewhere where we will be upper hand that holds, not the one waiting lower hand. So this is the whole idea. When we talk about economy and finance, you don't want to engage in something that is just fake stuff, right? So idea is that we finance things, we grow economy, and we increase that strength that helps us and help the world at the end of the day.
So what about the ownership? When you sell me something for 10 and I pay you back in installments for 120, is the ownership percentage wise, or is it mine?
In a sale contract, if I am owner of this, what I'm selling you 100%, and I sold you for a price, then you are immediately owner. So in sale is the type of a contract where ownership is immediately passed on you. You are immediately owner. Whether you pay me now or in installments, you are immediately. So different transactions, that could be a different in partnership, in a lease, that could be a little bit different, but in a sale, it's immediate.
Okay. Also, again, insight, very good insight to have. Okay, I will get to the last question. That is, can someone work at a company that does business with a non-halal company, such as banks? So I'm working at the company, and this company has partnerships with non-halal companies. How should one approach this issue?
Because interest is a serious issue, what scholars say that if the core of any business is not permissible, then you shouldn't engage in any way with that business. So whether you are a cleaner or you are IT guy or something, you shouldn't be engaging with these businesses. That their 100% core is, let's say, interest or something that is totally against Sharia. So I know, I immediately get people, oh, I'm in the IT or I work this, and 100 people wants to know, what do you say to them if they already? I say to them, look, make a plan. how you exit strategy. If you are already into that, make an exit strategy where you can go start applying different jobs, make your plan how you're going to exit from that. Because people have a bills, they have families, they have wife, they have kids, and then often they already know well, I'm doing something wrong. So they don't need me to tell them, oh, it's wrong. But usually they are worried, how do I do it? Not that they don't know it's riba is haram, they know that. But they sometimes just need, look, okay, try, may Allah forgive us all. We all do sometimes wrong things. And once we learn, we try to get out of it. We want a blessing in our money. Money is not just numeric numbers. There is components in the money that are not visible. One of them is called barakah. Barakah in money is a different concept inside your money. If you have money that doesn't have a barakah, that money is going to buy you nothing. Okay, you're not going to be benefiting from that money. And we see countries with a lot of money, no barakah in money, nothing. They are slaves. Okay, so you don't want a money in your family that you bring in. There is no blessing. And blessing comes from halal income, halal work. And so you want to transition, make a plan, and work to meet those deadlines. And inshallah, may Allah forgive all of us. But we strive to fix our affairs, no matter what it is. We don't need to tell it to the people. You don't need to email me, tell me. I really don't need to know that. Just don't know. Do your best to get out of that. And so why would we want to involve with these kind of things? Again,
what we have a lot in our current situation is that you work for a company that provides services, and this company that you work for, they give the services to non-halal companies. Does that make me as an employee of that company that provides services? Is that wrong to work there? And how is the company? Can the company deal with those people?
When you have a mixed bag, sometimes like you providing services, and then there are sometimes different clients, and your intention is not to be exclusively working for the banks or this bank or financial sector. But sometimes they come, let's say you selling some software, I don't know, or you sell something, and then bank buys, even you sell flowers, maybe bank come and they buy flowers from you, or
no.
ITs, so you selling your products, you are not intending, we live in a world where you will come across a lot of different things, a lot of different stuff. You can't now just have an ID check where you work. And so you try your best, but you know that my business's core of it is permissible. I deal mostly with something I agree with. The other day, somebody called me. He said, I'm the arts director for the government, one of the government. And
the arts director?
Yeah, director of arts. Okay. And I said, what does it mean? He said he works for grants for the artists and paintings, sculptures, movies, whatever, And so he said to me, like, what do you think? Now I'm on the top of it. I decide where money goes. So, I said to him, and if you listen to my podcast, as you mentioned, you know that my game is not, I tell you this or that. I mean, that's not my game, right? I mean, I'm not in the game, tell you this is halal, this is haram, do this, do that. I don't have an interest in that. You do learn but what I try to do, because this is not a simple person I'm talking about, So I said to him, okay, let me tell you how I would think about it. Okay, how would we begin to think about what should be done? So I taught him a little bit to think about what we are funding. You have a gut feeling, what kind of projects are these like? What is being a lifestyle that is promoted? Tell me last 10, for example, exhibitions that what is it that they were talking about doing? What are they engaging? And so once we start thinking, and then we say, well, majority of this, what is this? What is this majority? What do we see here? So you have to have an ownership in that decision. You need to be able to process, to analyze how to think about. That's why one of my sheikh said, Usulu fiqh is management of your thoughts. So as a Muslim, we need to be able to manage our thoughts, clarify our thinking about something. And so I'm much more interested how you think about things, so that you are independent to think for yourself. So next job you get, or as you move throughout life. Even when I talk with young people, career development, they say, oh, sir, what should I be, engineer or a doctor or whatever? What's your interest? What's your talent? What excites you? How you imagine yourself in 5 years? Do you more, how you think through, learn to think, because guess what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life? Making decisions, having to think about your choices. So that's all of what I'm saying is think about choices that you are making, how you are making those choices.
That is what I see in the courses you make. It's like really about how you think about stuff, and it's not, you won't get a direct answer of this is wrong, this is right. So
because I imagine that would be easy for anybody who pay attention. So anybody pay attention.
You don't maybe have not a million views, but everybody who's listening, they are
absolutely really And so if you are paying attention, you should be able to learn to do it for yourself. So my game is not to have somebody follow my opinions. I would really like that, because I say to business people, if you need me to tell you what's halal and haram, and you are a business leader, like that doesn't make sense. You doing it every day. Like I'm saying, let's say normal person, you as a business leader, after 10 years in business, you should be already know everything there is. I should be coming to you, ask you, what is what, So I want you to be confident, learn these things and be confident in what you're doing, and have imagination how to take it forward. So this is what it is. I think unleashing that creativity, unleashing that sort of inner power to take on these big challenges that we have around ourselves.
You also have a course online on your website, which really goes into depth and also talks about even more contemporary stuff, right? Besides YouTube. What type of stuff do you discuss there?
So we usually, what we discuss in the course, I teach people how to break down any contract, any transaction, what are the rules when it comes to the transaction, what is the money, how the money works, why, why the money evolved so much, why people use, for example, why is in the jail cigarette used as a money, or somewhere stones, or somewhere egg shells. What is the function of the money? How do we transact? What are the different rules? Then we go into the modes of financing. Then we go into different partnerships. Then complex products for investments and things like that. How do you structure them? And so what I'm looking for is just to have somebody really confident to deal with money, that they know when they engage in everyday transactions, what is permissible, what is not. And also bring it to the more sort of modern transactions, because there are a lot of issues today that are modern and you don't know, like you mentioned crypto, but it could be basic things. Somebody is dealing in some of these new businesses and they don't know. No one thought about it. So you say, okay, let's. How would you start breaking it down? What is the core of it? What is the basis of it? And how to read it? Just I'm preparing a case study that will be used on a podcast, which is the student loans. We had a big discussion recently with some of the. I had a discussion with some of the scholars, and I noticed that a lot of people who are not so. Maybe careful, or they casually observe these things, when they break down the contract or analyze it or anything, that they make some major assumption and major mistakes in thinking through the problem. And so they analyze a particular contract or a student loan, and then they came up with all of different conclusions, which I thought were quite interesting, because they made several I could pick up easily issues, So I contacted a few people. We put together discuss how to analyze their mistakes, where these mistakes are coming from when they read. And I see the same mistakes over and over and over again, where people are missing. And the first thing that came to my mind was actually, that's why I'm saying issue of riba is very interesting, because it's a core of all of these misunderstanding and the problems. And reminds me of in Pakistan, some year in 90s, there was a court case in Pakistan where Pakistan prohibited riba in the whole economy. And what these bankers are very smart people, they will get out of everything. They said, okay, we agree, riba is prohibited, but we don't know what is riba. That's the only thing. We don't know if this what we are doing in the banks is riba. So just like in the story, Becca, all the cows looks the same to us. We don't know which one is which. So they say we don't know what is riba, but riba is haram. But just we don't know what we are doing is that riba. So that's the only thing we don't know. So Mufti Taqi Usmani writes the huge response. He was a judge, and he writes the huge response, which became a book. And when I read that, and I read that book, and I'm thinking, every generation they have these kind of people who will make the same kind of arguments and bring up the same thing, and it's on, and maybe there is a benefit, keeps us more alert. But like what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to take these contemporary cases and break them down so that what is going on at the core of the contract and the transaction.
Are there people in your field who disagree with you?
I haven't come across somebody that I talked to and they understood my point that we disagreed. I mean, I try to understand other point of view, communicate, and if we have a basic disagreement on a rule, okay, so then it's valid. Okay, like some, for example, in certain schools of thought, they might say, number of scholars might say that a particular rule of riba doesn't apply on this money. For example, that it must be exchanged on the spot for a currency exchange, let's say. All right? Because they say it's only applied to gold and silver, and so that this is a riba, and one of the type of riba and nasiya, which is the deferment of one. So in one of these schools, they would say, but we would not allow riba al-fadl, which is increase, but we would allow riba and nasiya in this money. Okay, so here is the thing. So I say, okay, so this is a school of thought, particular, doesn't mean everybody in that school of thought says that, but here's the problem. You apply one riba, not the other one on that money. I mean, you have inconsistency, and look, if you want to believe that, that's fine. I understand that. But usually I find that I try to understand if there is a principle involved, we get to the bottom of that. But usually what I found out is a simple reading of the contract that is the problem. Once we get to the point, then reading and analyzing becomes the core. Did we understand what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? I'll give you a simple example. For example, now I'm discussing this with one of the group of some of these scholars on some of these groups, and we have a zakat, for example, on pension funds, and so a lot of fatwa about it that people don't pay zakat on pension because they don't fully have possession of it, and so on. And we just start discussing, how did we reach this conclusion? What are the assumptions that goes into this decision? I mean, whatever zakat rule you want to apply to this, but what is the thinking that we got into this? Like, because think just logically, like you have all of this Muslim money, like in Australia, for example, I'll give you an example. Maybe there is $20 billion just from Muslim money in the pension funds. Government, when you work for somebody, they give 9 or 10, sometimes 15% for your pension, and you keep it in your fund. You cannot spend it, then it's invested on your behalf in these funds and so on. So you can sometimes take it out, do it self-investment and so on, but in general, people put it in some funds, and it's just like locked away account until they retire.
Yeah.
And so I just say to these, to my friends, I say, okay, let's think about logically. We have here in Australia $20 billion of Muslim money, okay? And no one is responsible to pay zakat on it. This one doesn't have ownership. It's not his. Employer paid, let's say we have a three. You have employer is a Muslim, fund manager is a Muslim, and employee is a Muslim. Three parties. This one give, this one manage on behalf of this one. Three people. No one is responsible to pay zakat. Like just as a matter of a logical conclusion, forget all of the rules, just as a logical conclusion. 20 billion is floating around. No one is responsible. I mean, first of all, does that by itself make sense?
No,
it doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me. So now we have trillions of Muslim dollars. No one is responsible to give zakat. No one.
Yeah.
So when I think about it, so I'm not saying here's the fatwa on zakat or something. I don't know, like wherever you want to give fatwa. What I'm saying is, does it make sense? They have trillions of dollars that nobody's paying zakat and no one is responsible for. So what that means to me, what that I think it means is that we got some assumption wrong in that. So what is the assumption that we got in? So we need to analyze, how did we reach that conclusion? So when you pick up on that, you start a thread. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's perfectly fine that you have trillions of dollars nobody's paying. It's just I have a hard time believing, But again, I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. I mean, what I want to do.
Saying somewhere in the process, when we got there, we made an assumption about something that was probably that we thought was
wrong.
halal or whatever. And then
it's an assumption. We use some assumption about ownership, what it means. That doesn't make sense. Like, for example, when they say, oh, it's not his money because he doesn't have full possession. Well, what does it mean, full possession? If I open the deposit accounts for my kids and I put $10,000, it's on his name. He doesn't have a full possession until he's 18. I didn't have possession because it's now his. Bank is managing that money.
No one is paying zakat.
But zakat needs to be paid on that. Even he doesn't have it. So as a parent, as a guardian, I need to pay on his behalf because I'm his guardian until he can do his own job. Okay? But it's not that no one is responsible because the child cannot get it now in his pocket. It's locked until it's 18, but it's his money. Whoever is responsible for that money must pay it. It's not no one is responsible because I gave money. It's his money. Yes, he can't get it now. He'll get it later. So just rethinking, because we sometimes dismiss something. Oh, the kid doesn't have a full ownership. It's not he cannot spend it now. Sure, he cannot spend it now, but it is money. So this idea of he doesn't have full possession because we put a caveat. Full possession means he can spend it now. Well, I don't think that removes the responsibility. So you have to engage in the more thinking through. That's what I'm saying. So complicated things, complicated matters, people tend to explain away with a simple word. They just add a word in the mix. Oh, that's what it is. Wait, hang on a minute. You can't just explain away with the word. You have to break it down. You have to show me mechanics. You have to point.
And there are not a lot of people willing to listen to that as well. So a big breakdown.
That can be annoying. So one day I was, sometimes you have to ask questions. People don't like questions, So I sometimes not very popular with these questions because I drill down. What about this? What about this? What about this? Because
just give me the answer.
Because people then, okay, this is a methodology when you teach in the school, you always ask question until you reach the principle. the point.
Yeah. No.
Because there is a lot of fluff on the top. So you need to reach to the bottom. And then you need to drill to the bottom, so just sometimes it's not easy because people don't think like that. But you need to train people to think like that. And this is what you see with the scholars of the past who were able to engage in some sophisticated. So when you read what they were saying, some of these things, you say, oh my goodness, like just last night, I'll give you an example. I've been trying to think all of these different, I've been working on model for Islamic economy and just trying to compare it to the communism and capitalism. And last night I was reading one of the scholars was saying that the way zakat is structured does not provide disincentives for work and investment. And I was thinking just that sentence, if you really were expert in this issue of economy, I thought, my goodness, just this sentence is
So
a
paying
word
zakat
that
is not
somebody,
disincentive for
the
investments?
way that zakat is structured in such a way that does not provide disincentives for investment.
Okay.
I could give a talk just on that, on that thing. In fact,
Yeah, I feel
thought,
like I'm only getting the surface of it.
just to unpack that, what that means.
Yeah.
Is I thought
Next episode.
that would be a PhD topic for an Islamic finance student, just that sentence.
Wow.
And so the sophistication that some of the scholars and people they had, a mastery of the matter and the insight that they have, it's really come from deeply understanding these rules. So this is what I think it's necessary for us as we recover our economy, as we become look for our space. Just like if the IT technician or computer scientist sometimes comes and tell you, this new Apple chip, the way it works, the way silicon works, the way it connects with whatever hardware, and this little thing, and then you say, well, what is it? That's nothing. They say, well, this is a groundbreaking. I was once at a presentation where one of these academics was saying that he had a student in a health field. He was doing the PhD on these, I think they call T cells. Okay, so T cell in the body detects when your body is under attack. So think of that, like Corona or something. I don't know much, but just from what I can remember, your body is under attack from a virus or some disease. Okay. How does your body know this T cell detects attack? Okay, all right, so think of that first of all. What he was studying, not that phenomena that is happening, just one question. How does it detect? How does this cell detect attack? Like, I don't know. Can you even grasp? I mean, look at now technology to incoming missile attack, cruise missiles coming, and those anti-aircraft missile satellite stations, scanning, how many things work to detect incoming missile, for example. So you have in your body something which you don't even know how it's detect to trigger then reaction, immune response, and all of these things. So the more you go deeper into issues, I mean, you could just that's why people who study deeply these things, they say they see, and somebody will look at that and he will recognize creator. That this must have a creator, man. Like, come on, this doesn't have a creator. This, you're telling me that God is not the one who should be praised here? Like, come on, seriously,
That's why I don't like the sentiment of when you're a scientist, you're a researcher, you can be religious as well. I'm like, the whole point of it is when you study it, you start to realize how much you don't know, and
you peak. You look at it, you peak, and you say, this subhanallah, what is this? 1 gram of your DNA can store more data than a whole room full of machines. So any entry point in anything. That's why when I look at economic order and the rules in the full picture, I can say clearly, I can clearly see Subhanallah, this, if people just understood the greatness of these rules and how it works and function, anything, it's just amazing, just amazing. So
That is your
I'm
life mission
constantly
now.
amazed. So I'm constantly amazed with these things. And, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like all of what we are doing, the core purpose is to connect us and other people with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is the core of everything. Whether you're doing
Yes.
dawah, or you putting the post on a social media, or you are producing a business, solving a problem, running a country, defending the country, you want at the end to connect yourself and your community to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's embedded in this kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a final advice for the students, but this whole podcast is packed with advice. But I don't know if there's something you want to say to our members of our student association to trigger them to get entrepreneurial or something.
Main job of a student is to learn how to learn quickly. That's the purpose of you being student. You're not going to become engineer or a doctor or lawyer by finishing 3 or 5 years. Only thing you need to learn is how to be disciplined, how to learn fast, because the rest of your life is learning. Once you start learning and doing things, I encourage people, get some experience, find some work, get the practical things, because these days careers need some practical experience. If a small number of you maybe try something, I say at least 5 or 10% of you should start a business that employ another 5 or 10 people. Make that your goal. We need that.
Yeah.
Try to learn, be the best that you can be in that field. Lead or help somebody who is leading in your field. But focus, take yourself very seriously. You want to make something, be a real contributor. Involve yourself with your local community. Don't just live on the Facebook and thinking global issues. The core and the strength is in your roots, in your local community. This is where you need to balance out, be grounded, connect, have somebody who is 10 years up from you. If you are 20, he's 30. If you are 30, he's 40. His mentor, his guide, connect with people. Don't just be in one sort of group. Try different things. Try to work out. Try to something, For the boys, it's very critical, especially these days, I feel the girls, usually they are maybe more quicker, they get some sense of certain priorities, maybe earlier kick in. With the boys, there is so many other external issues that point you into different ways, the games, the cars, the doing just wasting time, or talking big game.
Yeah, the females grow up more quickly most often.
I feel that boy need to be the core of society. With respect to the boy, is that he needs to be really strong, reliable, that we can rely. We need the boys to be strong, to be somebody who can take on any challenge and be responsible to take care of it. You understand? The essence is that we can trust you to be able to take care of your things. Your homework, for God's sake, your job, your duties, your responsibilities, so that people can trust you, so that we can start the families, we can start to work, we can start different things, balancing this out. So you are young, use the time, learn, try different things, follow, connect yourself with the good people, good friends, do together, encourage each other together. Don't be selfish where you're just thinking of yourself. It's very important that you have a good friends that you can then build your life with, socialize with. Tomorrow, kids, you have kids together playing, marrying, you have boy, he's got a girl, you plan your community, you plan your retirement, So think about what you want. Think about what you want, how you want it. Nothing worth is quick. Everything requires sacrifice. All right? if you want to invest money, if you want to build something, find something where you can be involved with your own hands. Don't invest in these stock markets and things like that. Find a business around you that you can be involved, you can learn something, contribute something, grow from there at solving the real life problem. So these are real life. This, believe me, once you are 40, 50, you realize this is the real thing. This is a strength. The governments, big guys, this is a test in life. Even if you have this government or that government, this go up and down. Sometimes it's hard for you, like now we have Islamophobia, we have media, we have politicians, you have even wars. I went through war, I've seen everything that you can see. When 16, 17, I was guarding my street with a gun. I never fired a gun. I saw people blown up, sniper shot at me, rockets, bombs, siege, whatever you can think of, you understand? So these things happen. Don't get into this envy that is now very popular, hate, envy everybody. Be content, work what you can, be constructive, and work with your own community. So these are the things. I think this is the real stuff. This is this will stay, and this will protect you, your Islam, your family, your community. This is where you will be. This will be source of protection. So Islam is protected in this environment, and Islam protects this environment. You understand? So this is very important. Too much we went into globalism, and everybody is an activist, and everybody is flying in the sky. Nobody has any roots. It doesn't work. You at the end, it kills you. It's not sustainable. You have to have roots in the ground. You have to take care of things, what you are responsible for. And so connect organically and grow and build and what you can do. You understand? So it has to be very constructive. That's my advice for the students.
That was a beautiful note to end it on. That's beautiful, man. Really love it. Barakallahu feek for it.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank you. I already said Barakallahu feek. Inshallah, we will meet other episode, maybe real life. I doubt I will be going to Australia because I don't like the animals that live there. You do with that or not?
We have nice kangaroos here, very close by.
But I'm talking about the 8-legged.
Oh, spiders and stuff. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of the spiders.
Okay, inshallah. You'll take care of the spiders, then maybe I'll come. Okay, thank you all for watching. I don't know if this camera is still running. We'll see each other in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم وتحيتهم فيها سلام وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.